Jessii Vee. So as you can tell by the title of today's video, we're going to be talking about Santa Claus. C-L-A-W-S. I'm going to be telling you a bunch of creepy Christmas tales. Some believed to be true, some others maybe not. But you know I can't just go into the holidays without adding some sort of eerie factor to it. Before we get started though, I just want to remind you that if you want to win this Christmassy background behind me with the lights and the sparkles, all you have to do is be subscribed to this channel, so my Jessii Vee channel, turn on your notification bell, then head over to my Instagram, follow me there, and DM me the Christmas tree emoji. That's all you have to do to be entered, and I will be announcing the winner in a few weeks. Okay, so let's get into these very creepy Christmas tales, starting with Santa Claus. This first one actually is personal to me. It's a story from my life. When I was a kid, in probably grade 5, we had this teacher that one day told us about Santa Claus, C-L-A-W-S. He went over to the chalkboard and literally spelled out his name. And one of the kids in the class were like,
"You spelled his name wrong. There's no W in it."
And the teacher was like, "No, this is a different kind of Santa Claus." I'm pretty sure he used it as a tactic to make us be quiet in class, but I would be lying if I said it didn't scare all of the students in the room. If we were particularly loud and rowdy one day, he would tell us a story. Now the story always started out really positive and really happy. He talked about how the real Santa Claus would go around in the sky with his reindeer, going down the chimneys and giving all of the good children gifts for Christmas. And he would say that when the bad children would not behave, Santa Claus would come. He described him as the complete opposite of the Santa Claus that we know and love. He still had a red suit and a long white beard, but coming down from his sleeves, you could see these long giant claws with long curled nails. His skin looked rough and scaly, and his smile was lined with 2,000 tiny sharp teeth. And if you were naughty, Santa Claus would climb down your chimney after the real Santa had left, and he would snatch up all your presents that Santa gave you with his big giant claws. He would throw them all into his sack and he would run off with them. And when you woke up on Christmas morning all excited, you would see that there was nothing under your Christmas tree. So is he like a scarier version of the Grinch, or? And what's creepy is that if you go online, because honestly I thought my teacher made up this story, but there are different creepypastas on Santa Claus. I love how I keep doing this to like show my point. And there were also other articles of people sharing their real experience meeting him. But you know what? If we just all be good, we'll never have to interact with him. So be good, okay? No, it's probably just something my teacher told us so that we'd all behave in class, and it worked. He was a smart dude. Really mean though. I mean, to scare children like that. And I'm probably scaring you guys now. It's not real, okay? The only Santa Claus is the one from the North Pole. Okay, so let's talk about a very famous but very old ghost tale about Christmas. This story is called "Oh Whistle and I'll Come to You, My Lad." This story is from all the way back to the Victorian era, so it's like hundreds of years old. And even up until nowadays, it's still told at Christmas dinners. It's from the writer M.R. James, and he was known to always tell Christmas ghost stories. It's basically about this snobby professor that decides to take a holiday to a seaside town where he randomly sees this whistle on the ground in the snow. Obviously, he's very curious as to why a whistle is just laying on the ground, so he goes and picks it up. He was shocked to discover that there was Latin writing all over the side of the whistle, and he was obviously not able to understand what it said. What he didn't know was that it was a Latin warning, and if you blow the whistle, you are unleashing something very evil. But because he was curious and he had no idea what the inscription said, he blew the whistle. That night, the professor is plagued with horrifying dreams about a mysterious figure in the distance that he can't quite place. And basically every night then on, he had these very vivid dreams about a figure. One night the man was sleeping in a room that had 2 beds. He suddenly woke up from a nightmare and he saw a figure rise beneath the covers of the bed across the room. This figure completely sat up and started running towards him. Its body was completely covered and you can see the outline of a face. story is much longer than this. I'm just kind of summing it up for you, but it all started with this Latin whistle on Christmas. So if you find a whistle, don't blow it. This next story is about Santa Claus coming at 3 a.m. Throughout all of my research, I found a lot of stories about people saying that Santa always comes to your house at 3 a.m. No matter where you are, no matter who you are, he comes at 3 a.m. And you know what? Most of these stories are really happy ones. It's about kids, you know, waking up from their sleep to hear Santa walking around on their roof with the reindeers. Other people have walked into their living room and saw Santa. Other people heard his bells walking through the house. A lot of them are really good stories, but I did find one that kind of freaked me out a little bit. It's about this little girl that was suddenly woken up at 3 a.m. on Christmas Day because one of the toys in her room randomly turned on and started playing music. She couldn't see the toy because it was on the ground at the foot of her bed and she was all the way back towards the wall. But she heard it and she saw the lights flashing from the toy. So she sat up and started crawling to the end of her bed to get a better look. When she got there, she was shocked to see this dark figure crouched on the ground playing with this toy. It sent a chill down her spine when she really started inspecting what the figure looked like. The silhouette was what looked like Santa Claus. She was so shocked that she dashed underneath her covers and stayed there until morning. And because of that experience, she has never been able to properly sleep on Christmas Eve ever again. Now that is probably just a creepypasta. I don't think it's true. I mean, who knows? But I mean, I couldn't even imagine having that experience. I'd just be like, Santa, you having a break? Or you got a lot of other kids to reach you now. You can't just sit down and play with toys. The last story is about Santa's pointy hat. This theory is, There's a legend that the reason why Santa wears a long pointy hat is because he's not completely human. They say he's actually a humanoid man or alien type that has a long pointy head, like a cone head literally. So he is only able to wear a hat that forms into an unnatural shape like his head. And it says he never takes the hat off because he doesn't want to scare the children. Now this legend can be debunked by the fact that if you look at pictures of Santa, his hat doesn't always stick straight up. I mean, unless he has a long floppy forehead that just kind of sits there. This is so weird. That sounds weird. I can't imagine Santa being an alien. That's a bit far-fetched. But there is some interesting history about the Santa hat and how it started. The Santa hat goes back to the 18th century. Since Santa is supposed to be a grandfather-like figure, he's wearing clothing associated with grandfathers of the Victorian era. And grandfathers back then used to commonly wear nightcaps. So the traditional Santa hat is actually based off of a men's nightcap. So I never knew that the way Santa looks and is dressed was actually taken from how they used to dress way back then. Before I go, I just want to point out that anyone who's seen The Nightmare Before Christmas, Jack actually calls Santa Claus Sandy Claus, spelled out like this. And that was like the only Claus reference that I could find in a movie. I guess because they're so used to Halloween, they almost naturally associate Santa Claus with something scary. Here's a quote that Jack Skellington says to Santa Claus the moment he meets him. "Sandy Claus, in person, what a pleasure to meet you. Why, you have hands. You don't have claws at all." So the whole time they thought he had claws. I love Nightmare Before Christmas. Anyways, guys, those are all of the creepy Christmas stories I'm gonna tell you today. If you have any cool ones that I missed, definitely comment them down below. Don't forget to enter for this background behind me. I'll be announcing the winner very soon. But I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!